All right. All right, here we are ready for the build of our Crimson PC. So we've already done the unboxing. I hope you've all taken the time to go check that out, get some explanations on our parts and what we're using and all that. All right, so first things first, with most computer builds, you're going to start with the motherboard. So I've already got that out in front of me. I've got my case off to the side. We'll do all the prepping and getting that ready afterwards. So we're going to start with this. So let's crack her open. I could sit here and explain what it is. It's, what is it, the Z890 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. So what is this? So it's socket 1851, full ATX. Comes with 4 RAM slots. Yeah. All right. So I would recommend this anytime you're building with a PC. Use the motherboard tray, the motherboard box to do your motherboard, because it's so much better for prepping. All right, so obviously you need something anti-static that does that. All right, so I'm going to crack this open. Start with, grab my CPU out. There's this one there. I'm just cracking a box off camera a little bit. Just give me a sec, guys. Get the booklet out of the way so we're not... Yep. And as mentioned in the unboxing video, this does come with the Intel cooler. I will not be using it. All right, so first things first is there's my triangle on this on the CPU, and the triangle on the motherboard. I don't see it. They usually place it pretty easy to see, which means I'm probably just missing a very basic piece. It's not on the cover. I didn't think so. Okay. So because I can't see the triangle, I'm just going to have to pin-to-pin line up on the back. As you can see that they're not all the same. And that would go in, looks like that way. I'm just going to double check. I still don't see my triangle unless it's just the little difference there is the triangle. But either way, that should be how it mounts. Get our CPU out. Make sure you line it up well. And you see these have the 2 little notches on top. That's 1, 2. It has to go this way. Make sure you're in. I'm just going to shut down, and that cracks open. That. Keep these, because if you ever need to pull your CPU out, they're really good to put back in, just so you don't damage your motherboard. All right, so I'm going to move that off to the side with the rest of my stuff. Same as that bag. We've got the CPU in. Now, the next one to do will probably be the RAM, because that's pretty simple. And actually, let's do the M.2. That's usually a pretty simple one to do. Now, it should be this one. I love when things just work. Oh, why would I be undoing that one anyways? I need to undo this one. It's just a little clip there, because this is our Gen 5 slot. It actually says it on it. Yeah, we're using a Gen 4 M.2, so it wouldn't have actually mattered, but that's okay. I'd still rather put it in its intended original, like first slot on the motherboard. Right, so let's crack this open. Now this should be a toolless installation. Now I've got an M.2 screw there, comes with it, but this should be, yeah, completely toolless. So that goes in. There we go. And then you just slide this around. Done. M.2 installed, completely toolless. All right, now I'm actually going to remove this now, and don't forget to, when you're putting this back on, your heatsink actually attached to the motherboard here. Now this might be a little difficult to get off because I'm wearing gloves. Ooh. Oh my god, there we go. All right, and that goes in this way. Just clicks onto those screws. Ah, so there's the screws. Oh, look at that. It's stuck to me. Done. Completely toolless as well. Excuse me. All right, now we're going to do the RAM. As mentioned, we're using... I didn't even mention it. So in there, we're using a P3 Plus, which is... it's not Crucial, is it? Of course it is. Crucial drives very well. All right. So we got... Oh, look at that. A little bit of plastic. So we got 4 sticks. It should be 16 a stick. Yep, 6400 megahertz Intel XMP ready, which obviously I will enable before it gets sent to whichever one of you guys is the lucky one. All right, so first things first, make sure that the pins line up. Well, it's definitely not that way. 1, 2, 3, 4 goes in this way. Make sure it all. There's one. Oh, let's turn this a little bit, make it a little nicer just to look at. There's 2. That one was very snug. Brand new though. Sort of expect the plastics to be a little bitter. Alrighty. So the next 2 sticks out. If I wanted to open, there we go. Wait to hear that crunch, which is sometimes a lovely sound to hear, sometimes terrible. In this instance, it's fine. Alright, now I think that's the motherboard prepped, isn't it? Yeah, so all we're going to start doing now is I'm actually going to grab out the cooler because I'm going to check if it's a cooler mount that actually you mount before you install, because that would be a little, not problematic, just a little annoying if I had to then pull that out of it. All right, so I'll move that over and that, because this is of course it's the furthest part away. It's the furthest piece away from me. That's all right. We got her in now. All right, so how does this bracket? Oh yeah, 3 amps. See, it just sticks to the back plate. So I'm actually going to install that immediately. And that can go back in there. To be fair, truth be told, we should grab this one out and check their orientation, because it will have a few pieces. It's not on that one. Huh, it's not on there either. There's their instruction manual in this one. That slid down the sides. I know some companies do that. No. All I was curious is if it came with the 1851 socket installed or not, because that semi makes it different to how I'm doing it. But I guess the easiest way to check is whether or not that is preset for the 1851s. So, all right, so I've just noticed on the front of this box too, that if you want the user manual, you have to open the box and there's a QR code. I'm not going to sit there and get a QR code up to install the bloody cooler. That's kind of insulting. So let's sit that one over there out of the way. Let's grab this one and we'll grab our motherboard back. And now the motherboard is actually going to need to be upside down for this. So we'll place that very, very slowly. And I'm going to figure out if they line up perfectly. So the 1851 socket is already installed. Should be the exact size that's on there. All right, so I'm going to take off these 3M pieces, but a little hard to do with gloves sometimes. And in case you didn't see the unboxing, this box, oh, my bad, is the Wi-Fi antenna, which obviously will get sent with the computer. We don't actually need that one, but we don't want to lose it. I'm going to sit that one up there out of the way in a safe spot. And then I'm going to get this bracket back so that I can stick it in. It goes like that. And then it straps in. I'm going to just, not much force, just a little touch on it so that I know it sticks. Now that I know that the bracket's on there, that is our platform pre-done. Oh, big coffee at the moment. Now, I could install this immediately into the case, or I could do the power supply. Now, me personally, I've always done the motherboard, but recently on a lot of computers, I have found that the power supply is probably the one that should go in first. So instead of having to move this out of the way or work around it, which we shouldn't, this power supply goes into the back of this, I am going to install it first. So I'm going to just sit that one up there, and we're going to get our motherboard, power supply prep done, which means install all the necessary cabling to this modular power supply. All right, so here's our box. Now let's slide this one on a bit of an angle. This one gives me more room, and two, it's a little nicer to look at. All right, so now this is our baby, and this is what we're gonna need. All right, so I'll just double check what each of these are. That is an MC3 I shouldn't need. There's the GPU cable, which we did talk about probably needing, possibly not. As we talked about with the white GPU, we're not exactly sure which one's going to be better. That's your EPS, so that's your 8-pin. That's a PCI Express. Are we using any PCI Express power in this case? Maybe. No, it was Molex power we may need to use, obviously. So that's that one. So we don't need that or that. I will grab, now it's 3 Molex powers. So I'll grab 2 of those Molex cables out. That's got SATA power. That's not what we need. We're not using SATA drives. We're using the M.2, obviously. That's SATA, SATA. And there we go. That's not Molex power. What am I talking about? What's the other Molex power? It should come with 2. Molex, so that's for fans. So you can run a Molex fan on a 4-pin to your motherboard. Not necessary. There's the other PCI Express that may come in handy. Probably won't. That one can go off to the side, which makes this our 24-pin, which we'll definitely need. All right, so when I ship this off, all the spare cables will be in a bag, probably this one. 50% off with the computer, so that if you want to add any drives a little later, you can. All right, so let's get the motherboard box nice and out of the way. Make a mess behind me, find that out later. Hoopty-doodle. All right, let's get this one out. So this is our Silverstone DA1000R. All right, so 24 pin. So undo this one. Obviously, I'll probably have to end up retying a lot of this up later, but I'll use the cable ties that were intended. Or, I believe I have some red ones in my workshop, and I may be able to use that. All right, so I want this sides. That's the motherboard side. Make sure we line those clips up. That was right. Okay. So only one side actually fits in the power supply. So I guess that's an easy way to tell which side's which. You know, make sure that goes all the way in. Then I can grab out the 6-pin on the side and connect that as well. There's our 24-pin for the motherboard. This is our 8-pin, so each. Oh, there, EPS, yeah. Just got to double check that I've got the right cable. Alright, so to this EPS is, which one? That one. Yep, and this is the one that goes into it. Now we've got that connected, we're going to plug our GPU power cable in, because even if we end up using the attachments, oh no, we don't need this, but I'll still plug it in now, make it a bit easier later in case we do end up using it. Now what is this? SATA, more PCI Express and EPS cables and peripherals, none of which we will need. All right, so now that we got that prepped, I think it's time for us to grab our case out, which is going to need a lot of room. So I'm just going to move over a couple of those little bits and bobs. And yeah, then we'll be ready to get our big, humongous case over. For them though, I am going to grab a drink of water, because right now I'm currently parched. Much better. Whew. I'm not usually a chatty guy. All right, so I'm going to grab that case now. I'm going to actually have to stand up for this one. As we talked about last time, it is humongous. All right, so I'm going to pass it to you. Place it to you from the back end. Thumb screw right here. Let's get this off, and I'll chuck it in. If you can see, I got my little cups off to the side, which is for not losing screws. All right, pull this one out. I'll actually set the side panel right out of the way because it's not going to be something we need. And we can turn this, and then we can look at getting this done. So I'm actually going to undo these thumb screws, get this one out. I'm going to lay the case down in a sec. Just want to get those included case stuff out of there. And I'll show you so it's on camera. Storage bay can go in. My bad if it's not really the best, but just to show you, I keep using it. All right, so I'm going to lay this down. There shouldn't be anything on there. No pokey outy things. All right. Power supply goes in here. That a bit better for you, actually. All right, so let's DA1000R. I want the fan on this side. Hopefully that lines up with the screws that they've provided. Believe so. Alright, I'll grab all of them. Perfect. And they lined up, so I can go that way. Alright, now I just need the screws for them, which the screws should be in the motherboard box. I'm sure the power supply came with screws as well, but for the ones for this case specific, let's have a look. What have we got? That's the 5 screws for the power supply. Obviously, you only need 4. I guess height include 1 in case you're a dingleberry and you drop them. Alrighty. Let's go about the screwdriver. Just using my little Trojan because it should do the trick for this. Alrighty. 1. I'm going to grab a little bit of a bigger screwdriver just because it'll be a bit flusher to sit in, and it should be that one there. Alright, next screw. Why is that not going in? Ah, the power supply sits a little lower. There we go. And we can get the next 2 screws in, and my apologies if I've blocked it with my face. I know you don't want to see that. Oh gosh. I'll make myself laugh. And that's the last one down there. Alright, power supply installed, cables that are necessary are in. Perfect. Alright, so now I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to lay it down the other way. Just chuck all them in there. Heck, there's so much bloody room. And we'll turn it around and we'll get the motherboard in. In fact, just as a added bonus of holding those cables out of my way, let's tuck this in now. It should just be clip-in. Perfect. That's how simple this side panel is. Probably a little bit out of what you could see. Yeah, just clip straight on. All right, let's flip this over very carefully. And all right, hope you can see as well as I can. I'm going to remove the riser cable because I actually screw it in for support, and I can get the motherboard in. Let's turn this around. Get this one screw undone. Honestly, I may actually. I'm going to grab out the other screwdriver. It's longer. And honestly, it's probably just a better piece. As long as I'm not blind, can't see any of the crosses. What do you know? I'm blind. Let's go back to this. What size was that one? The number 1 plus 01. Okay. They screwed that in pretty well. Right, I'm going to chuck that one in there. The riser cable's got its little cover on it, just like the GPU will. So we'll have to lift that up and move it out of the way. I'm going to grab this now. Honestly, it's probably going to be a little hard for me to show you where I'm working here. Let me pull this forward as much as possible. So I've got to get... Actually... There we go. That'll be a lot better. Alright, so Let's lift the riser cable out of the way. Get this motherboard in. Make sure the screw in the center there lines up. One, two, three, four. All right, now let's grab the motherboard screws. Which I believe motherboard are labeled and in this bag. All right, so I'm actually going to crack the bag, move my riser cable screw to there, drop in my motherboard screws. They should all be the same, so yeah, they are. All right. Apparently the cross screws are... There it is. Should be this one for these screws. Perfect. Alright, so when you're doing these, don't do it too tight, especially when you just got the first couple in. Now there's actually going to be a screw down in this back corner here that's going to be a little bit of a nightmare to get to, and there's no way I'm going to be able to show it. There we go. Apparently I couldn't get a good line on that one from that angle, so I'm going to have to flip the computer and have a look at that one soon. Right now, just get some of these other screws in there. Oh, these gloves are a little bit of a nightmare to get the littlest screws. That's for sure. That's 3 down. Now there should be one up in here as well, behind the VRAM heatsink. Let's see if we can get into that one nice. Alright, so that's 4. Five. Six. Got 3 more to go, so there'll be one in this corner, one in the middle there, and one in that back corner. As we talked about, that back corner is going to be a little difficult. I'm going to have to turn the case around to get to it. But this one here, I should be able to get to. Yep, it is. Alrighty. Got 2 more for the motherboard. This is a little bit of a boring part. Just continuously putting in a few screws. Alrighty. Alright. My dinner's just arrived. So, a bit excited for that. I'm quite hungry. Alright, so we got the 8th screw in. I got number 9 just sitting off to the side here. Let's get it in. And it's that back corner one. So I'm actually going to turn the case so it's closer to me, so that I've got just a bit more room. Ah, there she blows. There we go. Motherboard is secured. Now, because I shouldn't actually have to do too much more to the motherboard, I'm going to take the bracket off of there. I'm going to install this, and that way I can install the riser cable screw straight away while I'm in this location. Alright, make sure I'm all lined up perfectly. I gotta remove one more screw at the back here that I didn't. And I remove the little bracket. I will reinstall that in the other slot. Let's make sure that's lined up properly and click it in. Ah, hallelujah, lines up perfectly. Alright, so now I've got that screw in here too. This one, I remembered which one. Alright, so I'll use that. Screw down the riser. Done. And I'll put that bracket back in where the riser was attached. Done. What I do now is screw her in. There we go. Riser cable is having a bit of difficulty finding the hole. I mean, I'm an adult. Some days. Right now, not so much. Alright, now that's actually done properly. Riser cable's installed. Alright, so the next thing to do would be to probably start getting some of these fans in. Which means I'm going to lift it back up, turn it around, remove that back panel again. So I probably shouldn't have installed it once I got that that power supply in. And I knew that. I actually knew that because I need to do a lot back there still. That's right. I didn't properly install it. What I did do was just click that on to hold the cables out of my way. Now that's done, I want to get those two 140mm fans installed on here. I hope that's visible, but I'm going to put them in here, obviously on the other side. So I'm going to grab those two now and start getting mounting. Now if you're here for the unboxing and you try and open it, get you that stupid little hanger from in the store. Ready? Phew. Well, how do you do? This thing's finally fallen out of its slot. There we go. Alright. I think it's safe to say my tool broke. I'm going to put that straight in the bin before I cut myself. And I'm just going to cut that open with the screwdriver that's right here. Which, duh, how hard was that? Alright, so there's the mounting screws. Now I want them blowing outwards, which is that ways. I don't need to undo the cables yet. I'm to install them this way, and I'm hoping that they'll just go in this way and line up very easily, which, ta-da, it should. Alrighty. So I'm going to move this over a little bit, make it hopefully the best position for you. So I'll install the bottom one first. That'll probably be the easiest. Nope. There was one stuck in the plastic. That's why I only saw 3 drop. Alrighty. I'm going to try and grab the fan from here. Cable managing, I probably want it coming out the back here, but it's not going to be the best spot. So I'll just feed that through to the other side before I mount it down too much. Ooh, I bumped it. My apologies, guys. Alright, I'm actually going to sit back down for a little while. My back's not necessarily up for standing and doing this and bending over. This desk's a bit shorter than I'd like to be able to do that. Three. I'm just going to do the back corner one. Which I want it to line up to the best